Jerry Schwartz, thanks for joining me. This has been a long time coming.
It has been, Cainey.
You're not an easy person to track down because we just mentioned off camera how busy you are. I get a feeling that up here you really enjoy this part of the world, don't you?
Oh, very much so, very much so. For lots of reasons. First of all, I'm more a water person, so I like living in Sydney, but I love the expanse and the countryside here. And the other reason is I have so many projects going on in this hotel and in Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I like coming here so I can really delve into the projects and see how they're going and push them along.
We're going to talk about a lot of your projects, but just this one here at the Hunter Valley at Ridges, is this one a real pet project for you? You like it more than, is it up there with the rest of them, or do you have a favourite?
I ask that quite often. I guess it's like kids. You can't say you have a favourite kid, and it probably changes over time anyway. I put a lot of effort into all my hotels, so I get enthused with all of them.
Yeah.
And some hotels need a lot more work or have more potential than other hotels. So those are the ones that I put my effort into, while the other ones run smoothly. So it's a changing scene.
For someone who's early 70s?
I don't like telling my age.
If I guess it, 72?
Well, I can happily say younger than that, but I don't like to give any more.
But I tell you, for someone who's around that age, you look remarkably well. Have you put in a fountain of youth out the back?
How do you guess early 70s? Because you've heard about my 64th birthday or what?
Well, ChatGPT does a good job of finding people's ages these days.
Well, they don't do a good job of finding out their net worth. So what's to say they do a good enough job finding out people's ages?
Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But just in regards to, you could have, I suppose, retired years ago with what you've got. What keeps you going?
What would I do if I retired? Stay at home and drink alcohol or go on drugs or what?
Some people do.
That's what keeps me going, doing things.
But is that a thing, is getting out, going to different areas, checking out the places that you own? Is it a joy? It's not a job?
No, it's not a job. No, it's enjoyment. And I've been lucky throughout my life, actually, in that the things I do, I love doing what I do, and it brings the money in. And that's particularly so in the hotel industry. That I try and make improvements and bring experiences and, improve all the hotels. And that is making money because it improves the value of the hotels.
Yeah. What is success to you, though?
What is success?
Yeah.
Of being happy and enjoying what you do and think that there's a purpose for us being on Earth. We've got to have a purpose.
Yeah. I've got a disclaimer to make. I'm in a footy tipping competition at a local pub in Newcastle, and for the first 6 weeks, my name is up on the board. My name is Jerry Schwartz, and nobody knew who it was. And they must think, is it the real Jerry Schwartz? But it's actually me. But I was just having a joke. But I've got to tell you that Jerry Schwartz isn't going too well in the footy tip, and I'm so sorry to have used your name and let you down. We're coming about 50th, I think so. You always seem relaxed in interviews. Is that just a mask? What's going on in your head behind the scenes?
Funny enough, my wife says to me, "How can you sleep at night?" I put my head on the pillow and I'm gone. So I don't worry about things. And I think that's probably one of my strengths, that I just got to accept things the way they are, and you have challenges and you solve challenges. Yeah. So what goes on behind me, I just want to solve challenges.
Yeah. I mean, you've done a few interviews that I've seen, very much business orientated ones. Are you a guarded man? You don't like talking about your personal life?
No, go for it.
Yeah. Oh, we will. No, it's just in the past. It just seems like I mean, people of Newcastle, they see you come into town, just like you're doing this week, you know, you whisk into town and you're gone the next day sort of thing. Still like a man of mystery.
That's probably a good thing, isn't it? There's always more things to reveal. That's great.
But do you ever get too far ahead of yourself in regards to, or just with your businesses in regards to what I'm going to do next? Is it calculated? Is it like a slow burn for a lot of things?
A bit of both. Life is opportunistic. When an opportunity arises, it probably never will come again. So you have to be prepared to accept these opportunities.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you can't just wait for opportunities to come. You've got to do things. So you've got to improve upon the things that you have.
Yeah.
And that's really what my life in the hotel business is a lot like. That I see these hotels, I see the improvements and the experiences and the upgrading that I can do, and I do them all. And then an opportunity comes along for something, and I've got to accept it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, again, you mentioned off camera you've got a boy that goes to school up here at the Hunter Valley, and you've got another one.
Yeah, well, my daughters, they go to school in Sydney, and my son goes to school in the Hunter Valley.
How does that work?
How does it work? Like a lot of things in my life, it just has to work. And I guess that originated because my wife got into horse rescue, and all the kids really got into horses, and he's really into horses. Yeah. So he had difficulty handling the school in Sydney, but he loved it out here in the country, where it's more laid back, and where he can ride his horses before school, and school finishes at 2:30, and he rides them after school.
Yeah. Oh, you just said it's more laid back. Is there going to be a time when you retire and go, oh, this might be the place where I'll retire at? Have you ever think that?
Yeah, except I've got a beautiful house in Sydney on the water, and I think that's a lovely place to retire at as well. Yeah. But then, as we said beforehand, who's talking about retirement? Yeah. You know, I just keep going until I get knocked off my perch.
We just knock the next block down and put a paddock there for a horse, and your son will be fine.
In Sydney? Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do. We have a big front yard that used to be a tennis court, and none of us play tennis. And I want to put a paddock there so that we can keep horses there. This is in Vaucluse. Yeah, yeah. And all my family, they say I'm crazy.
You've also got, is that the same house where you've got a glass floor with fish at the bottom of it? Is that right?
With what at the bottom?
Fish.
Well, that's one of my themes. I put fish tanks into all my houses. Yeah. So that was the previous house where we had a big fish tank, and you walked over the fish tank. Right. But I'm doing the similar sort of thing here, that we're doing quite a lot of reconstruction in my current house. Yeah. And part of that work is actually putting a big fish tank there too.
Wow, there'd be a lot of work cleaning that tank.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I was going to say, is there anything manual that you do? Like, I mean, I know you manage stuff, which is a lot of, brain work, but is it, have we ever seen, Jerry we have seen you on the sledgehammer at the post office, didn't we?
Yeah, that's true. You did.
The real Jerry Schwartz, is it like, did your wife go, can you put this picture frame up and you get the hammer out?
I do a little bit of that, drilling the holes in the wall and putting the plugs in and the screws in that. But certainly, as I go around our warehouse and hotels and all that, I'm always picking up the things, whether it be paintings or whether it be building materials, and putting it in my car and taking it to another place. So I'm always on the move.
Yeah. I'll just rattle through this. You own, obviously, Ridges Hunter Valley, Central Sydney, World Square, Sofitel Darling Harbour, Hilton Surfers Paradise, Paradise Resort Gold Coast, Fairmont Resort Blue Mountains, Mercure Sydney, Mercure Canberra, the Victoria Hotel Melbourne, Novotel Newcastle Beach, Ibis Sydney King Street Wharf, Ibis Sydney World Square, the Lura Gardens Resort Blue Mountains. You've also got Newcastle Seaplanes, Sydney Seaplanes, Blue Sky Airlines, Sydney Brewery. Have I missed anything?
You've done pretty good due diligence.
What's the high priorities in all those?
the high priority. Get them all working together. The brewery, for example, isn't it great to be able to make your own beer and put it in your own hotels? How did I get involved in Sydney Seaplanes? Living in Sydney and coming frequently to the Hunter, it was a 2.5-hour road trip. But getting involved in Sydney Seaplanes means we can fly in 35 minutes. It's fantastic. The hotels, what I have found with the hotels is when I acquire a new hotel, it always needs a lot of work and money and time. So all the previous hotels have been built up, so they're able to give me the money to be able to invest in the new hotels.
Yeah.
So it's with the help of the legacy of the current portfolio is when I can then increase the portfolio.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, it's quite a portfolio. Are you looking to increase that, or do you feel like that's enough?
I'm always asked that question. My wife says that's enough, no more. You're not buying any more hotels.
Doesn't sound like you listen to your wife much. Would that be a fair comment?
You've got to listen to everyone's opinion. Against her or the hotel agents that are coming to me all the time.
Yeah.
So I've sort of reached critical mass. I mean, there's just so much that one person can do and, put effort into all the things that he's doing. So I've sort of reached critical mass, but there's always the extra little bit of pushing above it. I've got a great team of, lawyers and accountants and builders and logistics people. So that helps to make everything more efficient. So I can just nudge my ability a little bit further.
Yeah. And you got that ability of taking over a place that's got potential to go up. But I do notice you don't own. Do you own any 5-star hotels?
Yeah, the Sofitel.
The Sofitel, that's right. But they're hard work, aren't they?
They're hard work.
And cost more money.
Well, they cost more money and they bring you less income.
Yeah.
So they're the blue chip ones. And interestingly enough, it's the blue chip one. This hotel in particular, the Sofitel, that brings a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bring the money.
Yeah.
The money is really from the 3 and the 4-star hotels, the Ibises, the Mercure, the Ridges.
Well, why wouldn't you get rid of that if that's not bringing you money? Because it's about making money.
Good question. It's much the same with my brewery and the airline businesses. They don't make money.
Yeah.
So there's some things, if you're lucky enough to be able to afford things that don't make so much money, it's a great situation to be in. So you can enjoy the expensive things, but still get money from the more common things.
But I suppose with the airlines, so again, what you mentioned, that it ties in well with just your movements, I suppose. Ever thought about being a pilot?
Oh, you mentioned my age. I'm too old to be a pilot, and I get vertigo anyway. I'd rather just sit back and let somebody else take me there.
I just want to get back to your age again. Why is it such a worry that you don't want to talk about that?
I think my father was the same. He never told anyone their age.
I know with women
you feel a little bit older when you do say how old you are. You go through all the landmark ages. When you're 40, then when you're 50, it becomes the new 40. When you're 60, it's the new 50. But it just makes you feel older. My son was 16 yesterday, and on the day of his birthday, he had to go to RMS to get his L plates. So, we went and got his L plates. But, then I'm thinking, oh my God, I have a 16-year-old son now.
Well, going back and forth to Sydney now, you just get him to drive.
Yeah.
Get some
better than that too. I can have a few drinks of my beer and he can drive me home.
The fact that he's reached that 16, that landmark, number, do you think back to when you were 16?
Not that often, no. It's a long time ago.
But just in regards to how times have changed, in regards to what he's...
It's unbelievable, how much my kids depend on the internet. They take it for granted. The internet's there. Money's going out of fashion. It's all on your phone.
Yeah.
I use cash, and they said, gee, You're so old-fashioned using cash. Why would you do that?
So you'd still have cash on you?
Sure.
Wow.
Sure.
Here we go. How about you?
No, actually,
Come
I don't
on,
have it today.
Come on. Jerry, this man's a fraud. But isn't it important whenever like things go out, banks go out, it's all of a sudden you're at the service station and they go, we don't know what to do, and you go, oh, this is why cash is still important, you know? Do you wish it? They're trying to make it a cashless society. You'd be obviously against that.
That's the way it's going. Yeah, it was really hard when you went to a car parking area and you had to pay to get out, and I didn't have any cash to get out. I had to actually keep a credit card in the car just for car parks.
Well, just getting back to, you know, what was your best decade?
What was my best decade?
As a person?
That's a really good question. One always wishes they were younger, you know, back to your teens and all that. My teens were probably a bit different than many people's teens because I was very academic at school and then I went into medical school. So, you know, a lot of my youth really was about studying. You know, on the other hand, I think as you get older, you accept yourself better. You can see where you're going, and I'm just enjoying myself now. So I'm having a great decade now. Yeah. You know, the only thing is the body is not as good as it was, you know, many decades ago.
We'll talk about your
I've got to think about that question. That's a really good question. You know, what is the best time of your life?
Yeah, but that's what I'm sort of trying to get at. I mean, so your son's 16, and I know that your parents used to like talking business around the dinner table, didn't they?
Yeah.
And is it a case of now I don't? Do you do that with your son, or is it a totally different?
Very much so. I mean,
is that important?
All my three kids, they notice when we walk into one of the hotels and the carpet's different. You know, they actually notice these things.
Right.
You know, obviously, well, not obviously, we don't talk much religion. There's not really that much to talk about in politics. So, you know, most of our discussion actually is horses around the dinner table. Yeah. But, you know, what do I bring to the conversation? Probably the latest project I'm in, or the current argument I'm having with the councils, or that sort of thing.
Just with that though, I mean, do you looking at one of your kids to take over one day? Is that something that...
Well, that's called succession planning, and I remember my bank manager 20 years ago, he said, you know, Jerry, you need to have succession planning. And I suppose the answer to that is having kids, and, you know, the kids getting involved in your business. Yeah. I guess, you know, why do I build up my empire and my legacy? Yes, it's enjoy doing what I'm doing, but you know, you like to think that you do pass it on, and that those that you do pass your legacy onto are going to do something with it. Yeah. But you can't force them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you mentioned about religion. You're not religious at all?
No.
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 It wasn't forced on you at an early age, or?
It's just never been a thing in my life and in my family's life. You know, when we travel overseas, I've got to drag my kids into the churches, just, you know, Notre Dame, you know, this is a beautiful church. No, not interested. You know, let's get back on the line bike and go down the streets.
How many times do you go overseas in a year? Do you get time to actually have a holiday much?
Yeah, well, a lot of my holidays are going to our hotels. You know,
that's not a holiday, though. It's work.
The Gold Coast is a holiday. Melbourne, Canberra. In the last 3 years, we've been overseas we've been to Europe each year, and we went skiing to Japan at the beginning of this year. So we do get around.
Have you ever been to the Gold Coast and stayed at somewhere different other than one of your places?
Yeah, when we owned a unit, we stayed in our unit.
I just thought it'd be good to see what the enemy's doing every now and then, and see what maybe that they do. Is that important, to keep an eye on the competitors?
Oh, that's very important. You know, not only to keep up with the neighbours, but also to try and introduce new facilities. Yeah. So that we are an international market, and that that's the beauty of going overseas. You see what's overseas.
Yeah.
We're part of, you know, a universal world. We want to ensure that what we're doing here is well up to the standard of what's international.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously you keep your businesses in Australia. Ever thought about, you know, buying something overseas, or is it just too hard logistically?
It's too hard to...
Well, in regards to, I mean, when you're in Australia, you can always fly here and there and keep an eye on things, but overseas is a little bit too far, you know.
Oh, that's one of my current projects, investing in a hotel in London.
Wow.
Actually.
You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Sure.
Yeah, what's that about?
We're setting up on the investor in a hotel that's being refurbished at Paddington Station in London.
Wow.
And that's a smallish hotel, 84-room hotel, but it will become a EVT, a Ridges Hotel, which is really exciting for EVT because they're now going to be establishing their brand in the UK. Yeah. And it's quite exciting for me because it's being able to branch out. I used to, as a family, we used to, when I was smaller, we lived in the UK, in London, for 2 years. My father was a dentist, and I've travelled there many times, and I actually used to own a unit there. So the regulations of ownership, the British regulations, are very similar to the Australian regulations. Yeah. So this opportunity arose, talking about opportunities, and I took it.
With a case of when you've got like a Ridges brand, Sofitel, now that the fact that you've got a few, they back you. If you see something like in London and go, I can make this work, they're more likely to say, let's go for it, Jerry.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, that's part of the experience of being, having many hotels and working with different management companies that they have their trust in me and I have their trust in them. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Do you
ever, when's this going to come about, this London one? Is it signed, sealed, delivered, or is it?
Well, it's been going for, it's been renovated for the last 2 years, so it's planned that it will open in November or December this year. So that's only 3 months away, so we're getting very close.
Is there room for a carousel there?
No.
We'll talk about that carousel very soon.
Okay.
But just, I mean, a lot of people think a lot of people call you like the Willy Wonka of business. Are you a big kid?
I think so. It helps a lot when you've got 3 kids, so you can see life through their eyes. Yeah. But you've also got to enjoy life, you know, not be serious about everything. Yeah. And that's what I've mentioned beforehand about the desire to make facilities and entertainment and experiences. Yeah. And that's what I like to do. You've got to make your hotel better than the one next door. And how do you do that? By putting in a good experience. I mean, you've got to have nice rooms and you've got to have good internet and TV. Yeah. But then, you know, the experience is what? You've got to have a good bar, a good restaurant, and other enjoyment things for families to partake in.
It's funny, I did a documentary series for Channel 10, and one of the episodes was on a guy called Terry Snow, who owned Canberra Airport. Mm. And his psyche was very much like yours in regards to, one, he was still working well into his 70s, loved going to work, but also too, like, he loved horses. He had a property down at Borley Point. But one thing about it was that he was always turning up at different businesses just to make sure everything's going well. But more about, I know, the fact that the employees were seeing the big boss turning up, it made them feel good. You know, is that something that's that important to you, that you still have that hands-on effect?
Absolutely. I remember actually my father at the dinner table one day saying, Canberra Airport's for sale. You know, this is 30 years ago. Yep. So he was actually looking at Canberra Airport himself. Yeah. But what talked him out of it was, even then, they were talking about the very fast train. So we said, no,
Yeah.
once we have the very fast train, there won't be much use for Canberra Airport. Obviously, Harry Snow has developed the airport really well, putting DFOs and hotels and things on the land.
Yeah. Which was a strategy, a real business strategy to pay off the airport. He said we have to have these, the shopping centres and motels to pay off the loan for the airport.
So that was diverging from your question. What was your question?
Being hands-on, turning up.
That's really important. They say the culture of the company comes from the top, and I think it is true.
Yeah.
But you've got to give your culture, and I hope that the culture of my company is they see, all my 4,000 employees see, this guy's really interested in what we're doing, and this guy wants to improve our product. And all my general managers, even during COVID, when I had projects everywhere, they were saying how all the other hotels are morbid and upset and nothing is happening with them, whilst in all my hotels I'm refurbishing the room, putting in bars, putting in swimming pools, putting in carousels, all this sort of thing, that there's this continual enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, that I've got to show that to all my businesses that I am enthusiastic about the business, and that's why I have to go there and see what's going on. That it's not just something that's coming from the ivory tower, but there's a real person and a real culture that wants to improve on it.
You don't think that before you turn up to say here at Ridges at Hunter Valley, the week before they'll be going, Jerry's coming next week, everybody be on your toes.
I see that all the time. I do, I really do, that something's got to be finished the day before I get there. Jerry's coming and he's so upset that it takes so long for something to be built, and it just happens to be finished just before I come.
You don't ever turn up just off guard, when you're not expected, just to see, because that's probably the best time to see it, when they're not expecting you.
That happens too, but usually I guess, with my correspondence, people know where I'm going and when I'm going, so most of the times they do get a warning that I turn up.
Just to stay back with the Terry Snow, the Canberra Airport, he once said to me, he said, entrepreneurs have a different vision to others. Do you agree with that?
Oh, for sure. That's what they're called, entrepreneurs. They try and make something out of not so much.
So do you see when there's something going bad, do you see that as opportunity rather than cut that loss?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a mindset too. I mean, if something goes bad, I mentioned COVID, that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
You don't just sit in a corner and cry. You think, what can you do? And what I did do was, once I found the money to do it, is to do renovations of things that you normally could never do.
Yeah.
For example, the Hilton in the Gold Coast, it was a horrible lobby. So I totally reconstructed the lobby. And the only way to do that is not have people walking through the lobby.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in COVID. It was closed. So you pulled it all apart. And the same thing too in the other hotel that we have in the Gold Coast, Paradise Resort. I had just taken over on February the 29th of 2020, which is just 1 month before COVID started. So we were operating the hotel for a month and then we closed it.
Yeah.
So, and that was quite a bad condition hotel. So I took the advantage there and then to strip out the lobby, strip out the kitchen and the food and beverage. So the whole ground floor was all stripped out. Yeah. And the only way you could do that is if you don't have any guests there. So that's taking advantage of a bad situation.
Do you feel that a lot of businesses didn't do that? It was almost like, but I suppose you're in a position where you've got a bit of money where you could possibly do that. But for people that only have one business, that was stuck, do you feel that there was enough done for those businesses, or do you feel for those around that time?
I was actually just reading now about debt, the government debt. I mean, the government actually did a great job handing money out to people to allow them to survive and earn food and all that, but that increased government debt. as I mentioned beforehand, I did these major refurbs, but it wasn't easy to get money. It wasn't. You had to dig pretty deeply. So yes, finance is always a problem.
I know you don't talk about religion or you don't talk about politics, but what do you think about this current federal government?
I don't want to get into the whole political thing because we don't talk about that much at home. I'm upset with the Liberal Party, upset that it's decomposing before us, Then we have this, what do you call it, Royal Commission, which isn't helping things. That's allowing the rising of a third party, which is totally against immigration and, totally unknowledgeable about finance, debt, national debt. But what happens, happens.
But you're saying about the Liberals. Were you a Liberal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in regards to the way it's diminished that party and seen the rise of One Nation, that's disappointing because you need to have a strong opposition. So is that what you're...
Of course, yeah. So, Labor Party don't have much competition, do they? Except the rise of One Nation.
What would... Just say you were the director of the Liberal Party, what would you be telling them to do?
I'm not.
If you were, hypothetically.
Well, that's why they had change of leaders of the Liberal Party because, one of them is strong about what she's going to do and the rest of the party loses confidence in her and then picks another leader and let's see what he's performing. I'm not a politician. I don't know how to make a party stronger. I know how to make an asset stronger. But, certainly you've got to come up with a very good strategy for running the country and being determined to be able to bring out the strategy.
Just sticking with the Liberals, Newcastle is a strong Labor town. It always has been. Do you see that as a good or a bad thing? Because again, some people say it's too safe. Do you feel that there needs to be that other party or maybe more independence? And I'm talking more about the local council as well that play party politics.
Well, Newcastle's always been traditionally Labor because it's working class. It's always been a working city. The other strength of Labor is to be able to give money to improve facilities for the public domain, as opposed to Liberal, which is, their philosophy is to enable people to, if they work, they can build their wealth up. But notwithstanding politics, Newcastle's gone fantastically.
But it's not really a working class town now, is it? Do you think? Newcastle?
We have the trades, as shipbuilding, coal. Coal's not going to go anywhere.
More about the traditional working class, I think it's changed. The tide has turned, I think.
Yeah, well, it's become a nicer city. People are more nice, dress nicer. And
nicer than Sydney people?
They are. When you talk about nicer, country, regional people are nicer and allocate more time and effort to trying to have a conversation with other people. They are nicer, not in so much of a rush.
At Elk Architecture, we don't just design buildings, we shape the spaces where life happens. From concept to construction, our award-winning architects bring our vision to life with precision, passion and purpose. Whether it's your dream home or your next big commercial project, trust Elk Architecture to build what matters most. Elk Architecture, designed for life, built for the future. Everyone deserves the chance to live life their way. At Connectability, they support people with disabilities to build confidence, independence, and real connections in their community. with allied health services and capacity building supports for children and adults, they help people develop the skills they need to grow, learn and thrive. From daily living and community participation to NDIS support coordination and supported independent living. Connectability is there to help you achieve your goals, dreams and aspirations. Connectability, supporting people, strengthening communities. Escape the city and discover the magic of the Hunter Valley with HV Tours. From world-class wineries and craft breweries to gourmet food, cheese, chocolate, gin and breathtaking views. This is more than a tour, it's an experience. Small groups, relaxed vibes, local guides and unforgettable memories, all without the stress of driving. Whether it's a romantic getaway, birthday celebration, Hens Weekend or just a day out with friends, Hunter Valley Tours delivers the ultimate wine country experience. Book your next escape now at HV Tours and let the good times roll.
Is there too much bureaucracy in Australia?
Oh, for sure, and only getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, just talking about like one of the frustrations you had was you had a proposed rooftop helipad on the Sofitel at Darling Harbour. Was that an opportunity missed for Sydney?
I think so, absolutely. It's an international city and it's got no landing pad for helicopters in the middle of the city except on the hospitals. So for, you know, VIPs, time poor people to get from the airport, and particularly now Western Sydney Airport, to the city, we've lost our method of transportation.
Because there was a helipad in Darling Harbour, I think in the 1980s, that didn't seem to have any opposition when it went in. So
no, it did. It was very controversial. It was approved, and it was apparently approved without proper bureaucracy, and they took away the approval, so it never went ahead. So that never happened. I
mean, so why did the Sydney Harbour Foreshore Authority now place making New South Wales? Why did they not back your proposal for?
Well, the story is, when I bought the hotel, I made the announcement that once it would be built, I will have a flat roof and put a helipad there. So that was very controversial even then. I then went along to Foreshore Authority and said to them, this is my plan, I want to put a helipad up there. And they said, okay, get your DA and get the DA all ready and we'll sign it for you.
Yeah.
2 years later, and probably $250,000 later, with all the consultants' reports for noise and heritage and vibration and all this sort of thing, I had the DA and went back to them and said, here it is, can you please sign it because you are the lease owner of the property? And they said, it was now with new administration, and the response was, oh, we don't want to set a precedence. We don't want to have this noise of a helicopter up on the 35th floor, so they refused to sign it.
Yeah.
So it was purely because they're concerned about the noise of helicopters 35 floors up.
Did that make you angry?
Very upset. Yeah, upset, angry, yeah. So part of the discussion we had beforehand is how do you take opportunity out of difficulties?
Yeah.
And the opportunity there was that they said, why don't you do something else with your rooftop? And the answer to that, of course, is putting a apartment, which I now have a DA for,
Yep.
for a 5-bedroom apartment with a swimming pool, which will be the exclusive apartment for the hotel, which obviously is going to give me a lot more money than having a helicopter pad that you can charge $50 per landing on.
Yeah, yeah.
And in addition, I'll add to that, that life is going to change. drones are now going to be able to fly people around. So unless legislation keeps up with changes, we can probably still have drones landing at the top of the building.
Yeah.
In fact, probably drones will land all over Sydney soon.
Wow.
So there won't be any need to have a helipad.
Are you investing in drones at the moment?
I'm investing in electronic EV aeroplanes, and that's one of the projects that is connected with Sydney Seaplanes. So we have Beavers and Caravans, which are 7-person plane and 10-person plane, and I'm investing in a company called Dovetail that are doing electric engines. So the plan will be, when I next have to upgrade the engine for one of my Caravans, we're going to put an electric engine in.
Wow. That's something. I mean, how far down the track is it? Can we see this becoming reality?
Well, it's become reality with electric vehicles, and it's becoming reality with electric boats. So yes, it will become reality with small aircraft.
Just staying with that helipad, so one thing I picked up on is that there's a similar line you rolled out saying something like Sydney has missed out on the opportunity, and your reaction to Newcastle Council when it rejected the carousel, you mentioned pretty much the same thing. It was the really petty and accused it of being vindictive. Was that another opportunity lost, do you feel?
Well, I'm fighting this opportunity.
I know you are.
I've taken them
Yeah.
to the Land and Environment Court.
Yeah.
This is for a carousel that cost me $20,000. This is in my land. It is something that kids love. The guests staying in the hotel will come to the hotel to go on this carousel, this wonderful, colourful carousel, which adds a bit of life to the foreshore. And I've got to pay my barristers and my lawyers $50,000 or $70,000 to fight for something that's only cost $20,000. So it is a lost opportunity which I'm still fighting for, and I shouldn't need to fight for it. But I think it's a great facility.
Did you feel though, if that was opened up to the general public, do you think it would give more weight to the argument?
I've offered that to council. They've said, is it only for use of the hotel or is it for use of the general public? I've said, I'm happy to open it to the general public. It's actually them that stipulated it should only be facility for the hotel. I had a previous facility at the hotel, and this is their vindictiveness, that on the swimming pool I put a slide, a water slide, so that our hotel guests could enjoy having a water slide. And I also got a train, a trackless train, and I built a station for the trackless train, and I offered it to the hotel guests and to the people of Newcastle. And when I did introduce it, which was something like 4 years ago, the council agreed to it, but they said they gave stipulations on how much I could charge in advertising and all this sort of thing. 4 years later, they see, oh, this guy's fighting us for putting a carousel in. Oh, he put a slide in the swimming pool. He didn't ask permission to put the slide in the swimming pool. He put a train there. He didn't ask permission for it, even though they knew because I was paying a fee to use the foreshore. And then they tell me, you've got to stop using the train. That's a facility that Newcastle loses out on.
Did you feel that councils have become too risk averse, too quick to say no to ideas?
Yes. It's also too, I'd like to mention their CEO, Jeremy Bath, with whom I've had great relationships with, but he's been CEO for so long that he is putting a lot of lack of momentum for Newcastle moving ahead. You know, and we've said how much Newcastle has changed and has become, much more civilised. But you know, it must be he still has the mentality of let's keep it the way it was. You know, why it doesn't need to have dynamic change.
Do you feel we need a new CEO of Newcastle Council?
Well, it's been there for a long time. You know, it's the same thing with managers of hotels. On the one hand, you feel complacent when you've had a manager for many, many years. On the other hand, by changing the manager, it's going to bring in new life, a new enthusiasm, and a new light on what you can do.
Do you feel the same about council itself? in regards to some of the councillors?
Well, council's changing. You know, that they have a new Lord Mayor. Mind that the previous Lord Mayor I got on really well with. In general, most of the Lord Mayors I get on well with.
What do you think about Gavin?
Gavin, I'm yet to meet him, but I've heard great things about him.
Yeah.
And I think he was on your webinar, which I listened to, and I'm so enthused to have a meeting with him.
I think he's wanting change, but as you probably know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it doesn't take 5 minutes. But I think he would actually love to see a full independent council, and I think which is what probably holds a lot of things back in Newcastle. Just staying with the carousel, I mean, you're like a dog with a bone. Obviously, you keep challenging. It gets knocked back. You keep challenging. Couldn't you put it up here in the Hunter Valley or somewhere else?
Why is it one here in the Hunter Valley?
But why is it so important there in Newcastle? Why is it so important?
Well, I'll answer the first question. I've already got one here. I've put one in the Gold Coast. I'm putting one in the Fairmont Resort in the Blue Mountains, which I have permission for all of them. So just like I have 5 trains, I have 5 trackless trains in all my resorts to add facilities for families, to bring families there. I want to do the same thing in Newcastle. It's my land. I have quite a large area that I can put it in. It fits in really well, you know, scenically it looks great. That's why I wanted to do it. I've actually purchased it. You know, in my wildest dreams, I never thought a council would say no to me to putting a carousel in my land. So I actually have it in storage, and that's why I really want to put it there.
What do you love about carousels?
What am I on about fish ponds? What am I on about trackless trains? You know, aeroplanes, boats. It's just another fabulous facility that I'd like to give to people.
But is this typical Jerry Schwartz? When he doesn't get his way, he says, "No, I'm going to keep going until I get my way." I mean, because a lot of people probably would have just thrown their arms in the air and said, "Okay, Newcastle Council, it's off the table."
Oh, yeah, you've got to be stubborn to get what you want. I also think it's probably just a few people in the planning department that are out of context with what's good for the city. So I don't think it's fair to all my potential families coming to the hotel and to the city for these few people to prevent me from doing what I'm doing. So that's why it's really good to go to an independent board like the Land and Environment Council, where they can see some common sense.
I mean, what you said before, I think it's, to me, most people in Newcastle actually are under the perception that it is only for Ridge's guests. But it's not. That is confirmed. That's not the case. You were going to open it up for anyone to go in.
I would happily do that.
Yeah,
I'd get money out of it.
Yeah,
you know, why wouldn't I do that?
Yeah, because that's the thing. To me, I think the average person thinks that, and that's probably why they go, well, you know, if they opened it up, we'd probably be on board. But I don't think people actually realise that.
Well, as I said, that's been a conversation that I've had with council. I've said I don't mind whichever way. For some reason, they have sort of indicated when they rejected it the first time that it should just be for the guests of the hotel. It's actually really easy to open up to the guests because we just put it, it's by the gate along the boardwalk.
Yeah.
Just open the gate up, you know, and it's not something you're going to use 24/7. It's something you're going to use probably half an hour, you know, 3 times a day on weekends. So, you know, if that is really the issue, that it should be open to the public, I'd love to do that. And I guess we're going to talk later on about the post office.
We will.
A lot of what I plan to do there is for facilities for the public.
Yeah. Can we see, if you do get it over the line, can we see Jerry Schwartz up at the gate taking tickets for the carousel?
Yeah, well, I drive the trains, you know, until my son took over and he drives the train.
What's the fascination with trains too, by the way?
They look good, they're fun, kids love trains. As I said, you've got to provide facilities that are going to attract families, and kids just love going on trains.
Newcastle Council, I mean, you've obviously had to deal with plenty of councils in your time. Have they been the toughest, most dogged?
No, second to Cessnock Council. And here we are in the Hunter Valley.
Well, what's been the hardest thing with them, with Cessnock?
Making them understand that it is important to bring visitors to this area and to show off the wonderful facilities and features that we have here. They don't want visitors to come here. Therefore, they don't want people like myself, entrepreneurs that want to make facilities for visitors. They don't want that to happen.
Well, why do you think that though? I mean, tourism is such a massive thing, especially in this part of the world.
I'll bring you along to one of my meetings with Cessnock Council. It's exactly what I keep saying. Tourism is what we strive on. This is what gives business to this area, which gives jobs to people. And there I am trying to bring in facilities to bring more visitors, and they just keep knocking back all my desires.
Do you think that with councils in general, councillors, a lot of them don't own businesses? Some do, but do you feel that some of them just don't get it? Because again, you're an entrepreneur, you can see money, how it can be made, not just for yourself, but for the area as well. But you feel that because they're from a background where a lot of them don't actually have any skin in the game when it comes to owning a business, is detriment to everyone?
Absolutely agree. You know, and a lot of the kickback I get is actually from the town planners, where their modality of life is looking at the regulations and sticking to the regulations without any flexibility to understand that for a place to survive, you've got to have visitors and you've got to have businesses running.
Yeah.
I do wish to add a plug for the latest CEO here in Cessnock. Her name's Natalia, and she's fantastic. You know, you've got to realise that you have regulations to fulfil, and that you want to maintain a lot of the legacy of places, but she does understand business. She has been CEO in other councils and see how they work. And, you know, in her few short weeks here, she's managed to speak to a lot of business owners. You know, in particular, I'll mention one thing, the required developments at Cessnock Airport, which is a huge legacy to Cessnock.
Yeah.
And the council do not want to develop the airport or do not let anything happen at the airport, which is where you do get a lot of visitors coming into Newcastle. I mean, you know, unfortunately, we don't have a train service coming here. We've got pretty good roads that go near to here. So the other main modality is transportation by air. But anybody, myself included, that want to develop the airport, it just hasn't happened. You know, and in her first week here, she actually looked quite carefully at developments that are happening at the airport. You know, and I've actually told her too about a lot of the developments that I've been trying to do in this hotel, which is to bring visitation here, to bring tourists to the Hunter. And, you know, hopefully that'll change the culture of council a bit.
Do you feel that sometimes too, that when someone like yourself tells people what to do within good interest, people don't like that, because it's almost like they're probably in a position where they should be actually thinking that themselves, and probably makes them look stupid if they did take your idea. Have you ever thought that?
Well, the opposite actually. If you want to be successful doing something, you've got to take advice from everybody, right? So you talk to advisors and they give you a white picture and they give you a black picture and they give you a grey picture. And then it's up to you to be able to determine the combination of what the solution is. So advice is really important. So, you know, if I'm giving my advice to people, you know, it's not saying this is the way you've got to do it, but, you know, isn't it a good idea? You know, it's not so much me giving advice to people, it's me saying, these are the things that I want to do, you know, and I get from my advisors, my kids, my employees, myself, of what's good to do, and I plan to do it. And, then I do the paperwork and submit it. So it's more that these are the things I want to do and they get knocked back. On the other hand, of course I give advice. I have a lot of the other businesses come to me because we are a major business here in the Hunter Valley, saying, they want to do something, do I think it will work, for example? And I give my advice there, but I'm not telling them they should do it or they shouldn't do it.
When was the last time you drove the train?
The last time
you drove the train?
2 weekends ago. Oh, actually, no. My son drives the train here. I'm the tour guide. I do the talking and explain all the facilities.
What's the importance? Is it a case of if a family comes with, if a family turns up and they go away and the kids are happy, it means there's a good chance they're going to return? Is that the key? Is that what
Oh, very much so.
But what about the couples? What about the couples that want a nice, quiet, relaxing?
I don't really cater for them. No, that's not quite true. In Paradise Resort, which is the kids' mecca, this is in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
It's a 360-room hotel, and at its best, it has 1,000 kids. Okay, we have ice rink, we have 2 water parks, we have creche, we have everything for kids. The train, of course, merry-go-round. I'm just putting in a teacup ride there. But the other thing I've put there is the adults pool, as we have put here at the Hunter, just behind the screen here, just behind the screen there. It's adults only pool. So if you want to have a relaxing time, just the couples away from all the screaming kids, you go to the adults pool. So I do cater for couples, but I predominantly cater for families.
Good, good. I've got to say, we come up here with my partner and we didn't stay here, a similar place up this way. And it was almost like, there was kids everywhere. Nothing against kids, but it was like, a golf resort, why would you bring kids to a golf resort? But then you find out all these other facilities that they've put in, and it was just, it was noisy.
Well, next time we come here and get a room, we have 7 rooms that open to the pool. You have a gate and you go into the pool. So you can have your room service and you're by the pool, which is the adults pool, no noise.
Well,
and there's a big screen there too, so when there's a sports on, we project it on the screen.
I'll book it before we go, Jerry.
Good.
You became a father later in life. Has that given you a new lease of life?
Oh, for sure.
Were you, like with these little projects with kids stuff, was that in your psyche before kids?
Probably not. Probably not.
So we can all blame your kids for this.
I think so. Who can give you better advice about things that kids like than having kids?
Yeah.
But certainly, it's a great way of staying young, having kids later in life. And the other thing too, I'm fortunate in that I can dictate my times a bit better.
Yeah.
So therefore I can spend quite a lot of time with my kids, which is a great thing. If it was younger in life, and my younger life was really medicine, which is long hours. So if I had a family then, I would never see them because I'd be in the hospital or the medical centre.
Debbie, your wife, how did you two meet?
How do I?
Debbie, your wife, how did you two meet?
We met at a function, a breakfast put on. She came with a friend of hers, a male friend, and I went with a female friend, and we just clicked.
That would have been awkward.
Not really, because they weren't boyfriends or girlfriends, they were just friends. But I thought it was her boyfriend, she thought it was my girlfriend. But
was it love at first sight?
I think so, yeah.
2008, but you were engaged within 3 months. That's pretty quick.
Well, we just clicked. Why waste time?
But I suppose that's just a decisive decision, just like your business decisions. You make, if you know something's right, you act upon it.
Well, over the years, that's actually how we have made decisions. We pick our car, we go to the different car dealers, and that's the one we want, and we pick it straight away. Same thing with the house. We saw our house. Well, she saw the house actually. She loved it straight away. She said, "That's our house." So just make quick decisions.
Is it harder now that, again, with so many businesses, do you see much of each other? Or is it?
Well, it's a bit harder when during the week I spend most of the time in Sydney and she spends a lot of the time in the Hunter. So we just meet on weekends and holidays and things. So you just got to therefore appreciate the lesser time you have together.
Is it true that when you proposed to her, you gave her a box with no ring, it was just a diamond?
Correct. Yes. And then even worse than that.
Did you think about putting a ring on it?
Even worse than that, I gave her the diamond. I said, do what you want with it. Seriously. So it was her decision.
That was pretty unorthodox.
It was her decision to turn it into an engagement ring. I mean, she could have turned it into a bracelet or a necklace. Or
you know what? I think you're on the money there, because again, like a lot of women, they've got their different perspectives of rings. You've probably done the right thing to saying, here's a start. Now you just do the rest.
Just do what you want to do. So she took it along to the jeweler in Double Bay and designed the ring and got a ring.
And as a typical or a female, what was her reaction to seeing a diamond in a box?
Stunned. Yeah. Also, too, her mind has to click. What's he going on about? What's he giving me a diamond for?
You trained as a doctor. Why a doctor and not a dentist like your dad?
Again?
You trained as a doctor. Why not a dentist like your father?
Because he was a dentist, I thought it was a horrible career. I've been to his surgery and the drill and all that sort of thing. Nah, don't want to do dentistry. I think it's a little bit like my son too. He sees me as a doctor. He thinks that's horrible. Blood and all this sort of thing is horrible. But on the contrary, we're telling him you've got to be a vet because you're so crazy about your horses. You need to understand the anatomy and the physiology of horses.
Is that what he wants to be?
No, actually. I think he wants to do business, which is even better for us.
Yeah. I mean, just in regards to being a doctor, you did some time at the Newcastle Royal, didn't you?
Correct.
The old hospital.
Correct.
What was that like?
Amazing. That was on the water side.
Yeah.
I was the ophthalmology registrar at the time, and our theatre had a beautiful view over the water. It was fabulous. And then, after work, actually I lived in Bar Beach. After work, walked home to Bar Beach, had a swim in the summer. It was an amazing place to work.
When did your business, I suppose, prowess start within you? Was it when you were a doctor? Did you have an eye on a different prize? Did you like being a doctor?
It's a really hard career. I think I've achieved much more in the hospitality sector than in the medical sector. It's a hard career that you've got to work hard academically at school to get the points to get into medical school. You've got to work hard at medical school. You've got to work hard as a resident, intern and resident to get into your specialty. Then you've got to work hard to maintain your patients, and then you've got to fight the medical council at the end, towards the end of your career, to maintain your registration. So it's a really hard career.
You just mentioned that. You've maintained your medical career alongside obviously your enormous business empire, but you're currently suspended from practicing, and you're challenging the findings of professional misconduct. Do you feel that you've been treated unfairly on this?
Oh, of course. That's why I've challenged it. The medical council, feel that if I'm a successful businessman, how can you be a successful doctor? And I've been actually a really ethical doctor. I've run my own medical centre. I haven't pushed the doctors that I employed to do fast medicine, but to do proper medicine, so it's really ethical. What they've got me on is that, and it's no complaint from any patients, it's complaints of them assessing my practice regularly. What they got me on was the fact that I gave painkiller drugs to patients that I operated on, and they consider it as an off-label use for giving sedation. So at one stage, they told me that I'm not allowed to give sedation, conscious sedation, to my patients. All of a sudden, they look through all my records and they say, you gave this particular painkiller but it's off-label for sedation. You gave conscious sedation. We told you that you can't give conscious sedation, therefore you're a danger to society and we suspend you. That's their main reason for suspension. I took an appeal recently, a few weeks ago, saying they had to prove that it was conscious sedation as opposed to light sedation. There's a definition difference between light sedation and conscious sedation. The appeal considered it, they accepted the argument, but they didn't reverse the decision of the medical council. So the suspension is still there. Now I have to have another court case with the medical council where they will then decide the punishment for what they considered was contravention of me not being allowed to give conscious sedation, whether that means cancelling my licence, can you believe it, or adding more conditions onto my licence.
Is fighting this more about just clearing your name on that, or is it a case of would you consider practicing again?
That's a really good question. They want me to retire. They keep pushing and pushing and pushing, hoping I'll give up and retire. Because I've got the financial abilities and the stubbornness to fight them, I keep fighting them. So they keep fighting back. You know, they say, this doctor's not going to get through. Okay, so if I do not lose my licence, apart from the stigma of that, what would I do? One of my particular projects is research into stem cells use for treating chronic conditions, and the particular chronic condition I've selected is MS, multiple sclerosis. So why stem cells? Because I used to do liposuction and blepharoplasty in my cosmetic surgery. Fat is a very rich source of stem cells. So I thought to myself, this is about 12 years ago, 15 years ago, what altruistic thing am I going to do out of cosmetic surgery? I'm going to get stem cells and inject it into chronic patients. So I've been doing this project and through UTS, and now probably once I get my license back through Western Sydney Uni, and I'm working with a scientist that specialises in stem cells pushed along the neurological line, and I want to start continuing that research. And that research means taking fat out from people with MS, isolating the stem cells, maybe culturing the stem cells and injecting it back into them. That's what's giving me my desire to get back into medicine. It's not really to continue cosmetic surgery because I think I'm over that, I've been there and done it, but it's to do this research. And I can't do the research unless I have my licence back.
Stem cells, and did you see, I mean, in 20 years' time, a real change of face of medicine throughout the world? Just the way that the changing of I suppose.
We've seen it already.
Yeah.
Messenger RNA. Okay, that's part of your DNA. And that whole concept was used for the COVID immunisations. And that's a lot of the rave currently now, is checking people for their cancers with messenger RNA, and to be able to utilise messenger RNA to take chemotherapy or immunotherapy to knock off the cancers. So it is changing big time.
Just with doctors, I mean, there's always been a talk of a lack of doctors even in this area. Is that why do you think there is that lack of doctors? Why is it more of a case of a local GP or a young doctor wants to become, a specialist rather than a doctor, and we're not seeing the old-time doctor that's always been at the same practice for 20, 30 years?
Cainey, the problem with these webinars is they're a bit long, okay? Half-hour webinar is, you can listen to that when you're on a road trip. Your webinars are much longer. If we're going to continue this discussion, that's going to make this one of your marathon webinars. It's going to make it a really long webinar.
In a nutshell,
it is the whole substance of what they will hold conferences about for why there aren't enough doctors. There's so many factors involved. There's immigration, there's discouragement of bringing overseas doctors into Australia that speak the languages and have the culture of Australian people. There is what I was alluding to before, which is the difficulty of a doctor's life. It's not about money, it's at all. It's about altruism, and you burn out of altruism after a while. So it's not a profession that is really so much aspired to now as it was in the past, because it's so hard. Then once you do become a doctor, do you want to become a specialist or just a GP? So there's a whole concept of what do GPs do, what are they allowed to do? You know, are they allowed to treat diabetes, or are specialists supposed to just send their patients straight on to the endocrinologist specialist? You know, what can they do themselves? Where do you want to live? You know, what encouragement or discouragement do you have of going to regional areas? There's this whole concept of you know, the medical profession.
Is that a worry going forward, do you think?
That's one of the worries. The other worry is Dr. Google. You know, people go to their doctor and they say, I want to get a script for this, you know, and the doctor has no say. You know, it's also too for the future medicine. And I give you an example with this. I've just installed it's called a wow shop. This is the first one in Australia, into my hotel, Lura Gardens in the Blue Mountains, where you go into the shop. It hasn't got any assistance in the shop. You take off the drawers which you want. No, you swipe your credit card before you go in.
Yep.
You go in, you select what you want, and then you leave through the turnstile. There's all the cameras, so they see what you take off the shelf, and they charge it automatically to your credit card. The same company that does that wants to introduce into Australia, because in the Middle East they're already doing that, these GP booths. And you put the booths at the railway stations or in public areas where you actually go into the booth, you know, like the old photo booths, and you talk to the screen, which is the doctor. And, you know, if you've got an earache, you pick up the otoscope and you put it in your ear, or your sore throat, you open your mouth and the doctor can see.
Yeah.
So it's all done by remote control. And as I said, this is happening overseas, and that sort of concept will happen here, where you're going to have, you know, AI integrated online virtual consultations.
Yeah.
So this is all changing.
They would come in handy with all these facilities you got, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Now, the post office. Is this a project that, if you had a crystal ball back when you purchased it, you would have ran a mile?
Probably not. With the crystal ball, I would have seen, geez, I have a challenge there. And to be truthful,
you still do.
I should have known I had a challenge there, because I'm really the fourth custodian since the government, the New South Wales government owned it. I'm the fourth custodian. The previous three custodians have failed, and I'm not going to fail. So I guess with the crystal ball, I saw that there would be a challenge, and I want to be successful with the challenge.
If you're chasing one of Newcastle's best craft beers, make your next stop Good Folk Brewing in Beaumont Street, Hamilton. Good Folk is all about brewing fresh, full-flavoured craft beers with character. Whether you're into crisp lagers, happy IPAs, smooth pale ales, or something a little different, they've got the brew for you. Grab your mates, settle in for a tasting paddle or a pint, and enjoy the relaxed atmosphere that's made Good Folk a local favourite. Great beer, great people, and great times. That's Good Folk Brewing, right in the heart of Hamilton. Are you looking to add just a little bit more spark to your relationship, or is it about just treating yourself? Then it's time to visit Confessions Boutique. With a huge range of premium and intimate adult products, romantic gifts, and expert advice in a relaxed, judgment-free environment, then Confessions Boutique is just the place. Whether you're shopping solo or as a couple, you'll be welcomed by friendly staff who know their stuff. So if you're ready to spice things up, then head to Confessions Boutique at Charlestown, because life's too short for boring nights.
Do you feel that that's another thing that you've got in your corner? I don't feel like there's anyone else. If you walked away, I don't think anyone's filling that void for a long, long time. The council know that you're the person that's going to have
And
to
now
get
they're
this over the
finally
line.
supporting me.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that's the thing too, is that do you feel that you copped a lot of heat from council, heat that probably say the Wabakal Land Council didn't? They had it for a while too and sat on it.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem to be getting as much heat as what you have been under.
Well, they didn't do as much as me, so therefore they didn't get as much heat. Actually doing something. You know, they only had plans, and their plans, I think, was to turn it into a medical area, medical centre, or into an art gallery, I'm not sure. But all they had managed to do was to get to stage A, which was ripping the asbestos out of the ceilings and the lead off the walls.
Yeah.
So I've done so much more, and therefore I have copped more flack.
But the council seemed to say that you've been dragging the chain. But is that just been, again, bureaucracy at work?
Why? As my answer is, why would I drag the chain? I'm not land banking. You know, the quicker I get the building to work, the quicker I make money back from the building. And worse than that, the longer it stays in dilapidation, the worse it gets. It's going to be more expensive to fix it up. So I have not willingly dragged the chain.
I remember going back, this would have been about 2012 when I worked for NBN News. We went into the post office for just some sort of tour, and one of the engineers, he had a light, and he shone this light down this shaft, and you could see a pool of water at the bottom. And I thought, where's that water coming from? He says, I don't know. Like, how do you get rid of it? I don't know.
Fix the roofing, put new downpipes.
Yeah.
You know, one of the problems I had was there were beautiful beautiful copper downpipes. Because it was all dilapidated, you had a few thieves break into the building and they stripped out all the copper downpipes. What that meant was that the roof, which had holes in it, the water just came through the roof and it rotted all the timber between the ground floor and the first floor. So it's all rotted. So now I have to change all the timber.
But I was sort of thinking, how do you know that water's coming from there and not somewhere else underneath? That's
the risk an investor takes on a development that he buys.
Because I looked at that and I thought, if I was an investor, not that I never was, I'd run a mile, because I'm going, that's the rising damp that's going to be in this forever and a day. How do you even fix that? And that's probably another reason why a lot of people have said it's all too hard. Would this be your greatest achievement if you could get this over the line?
Sure, I'll get it over the line, yeah. Whether it's my biggest challenge, I don't know. I've had quite a few challenges, but I will get it over the line. I'll just get back to this water bit. One place where it could come from is there's actually a tunnel. So you go in the basement, which we want to put a Aboriginal Medical Experience Centre in, aka Aboriginal Medical Museum. The first one sounds better because it's going to be set up for kids. It's going to have things that you experience. And this is the experience, one of them. That there's a tunnel. And I think the tunnel actually goes from the post office to the jail next door. So it's
amazing the heritage, like that old area up there, what went on.
And it's a beautiful museum next door.
Yeah.
I've been in a few times. So that's why I think the tunnel goes. So you can crawl in it. You know, it's about this high. You've got to really bend over, and it's about 20 metres long. So, you know, maybe the water's come through that tunnel. I don't know. But, you know, you've got to think of what can you use the tunnel for. So I went through with the CEO of MALPA, that's an Aboriginal organisation that tries to encourage young kids to follow a medical career. And they're helping me put the museum together. And I thought, what am I going to do with this tunnel? Hey, let's pretend it's a piece of bow. So what we want to do is to convert the tunnel. You put the stomach at one end, and at the other end will be, the blocked end will be where your mouth is, but mouth and nose. And you put the villi and everything along the edge so that the kids can then walk into the tunnel as a living model of what the human body is like. You know, and also what we want to do, put a big heart, you know, so people can understand the 4 chambers of the heart. and a big ear that you can pull apart, and probably a human body with all the parts, the kidneys and the liver and the lungs and everything that they can then reassemble. That's the sort of thing we want to do in the basement area.
Your brain works overtime, Jerry, doesn't it? I mean, if you said that to council, what do you reckon they'd say to that?
Well, they don't really care. As long as it fulfills the documentation of the DA, and it does fulfil the documentation of the DA. What they really should say is that this is fantastic. This is the great facility, public facility that you're opening. We want to run it as a museum. So, you've got to pay an entry fee, of course. And that'll bring school groups and Aboriginal groups and everything along to see this. You
were on a Newcastle Council meeting Zoom call. I got a feel. I watched it that night. I got a feeling you enjoyed that meeting.
You enjoy it.
It was almost like you were able to give him a free smack across the face. This is what I do. This is what I'm trying to do.
Well,
Stop stopping it.
I don't know if enjoyment is the right word, but I certainly wanted to have my say, and I was pleased to be able to freely give my opinion on what I wanted to do there, and the fact that they were trying to prevent me from doing.
Is there anything you could have done differently in this whole process, or?
Off the record, right? Turn down the cameras and the sound. I could have put the roof on the building before I got the special permission to do it, because it took 2 years to get special emergency heritage permission to put a roof on the building. And by not putting a roof on the building, the water kept pouring through to ruin all the timber and the columns.
So if you had done that, they probably would have said rip it off because you did it in the wrong order.
I don't know. And what I've been told is criticism. Why didn't I put a tarpaulin over the roof instead? Well, wind is going to blow the tarpaulin. So I guess that's something I should have done differently. But obviously I did the right thing, and I didn't do that.
I've been telling a few people that when this finally opens, when it opens, not if it opens, when it opens.
Thank you.
I know we mentioned you like Willy Wonka. Remember when Willy Wonka came out of the chocolate factory and he walked down with a cane, and all the people are outside. You cut the ribbon, you do the somersault. Ta-da! It's done.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. By that time, I'll probably have a cane. I'll be that old.
Well, then you'd still be able to fix yourself with the stem cells. You'll be right.
That's true.
But isn't it funny in regards to this post office? It's been dragging on for years, hasn't it? And it's almost like nothing has been done. And in that top of town, there's so much history. Was that important to you? And for someone who's, I say, as a Sydney-sider, why was something so important like that to you?
Well, first of all, it's really important for the city of Newcastle. And I am amazed how the newspapers, the council, the city are so interested in why an individual, me, what I am doing to one building. It's a privately owned building. Let me do what I want to do. I put my permission into council and I do it. But it is such an interest for Newcastle because it's such an iconic building. Mind it, there are other beautiful buildings in Newcastle. Why do they have to pick on this building? Don't know.
Do you feel that that's why investors sort of shy away from heritage listed projects because it's just too much hard work?
Well, that's known. That's commonly known that you're taking on a real headache when you try and improve a heritage listed building.
But for someone like you that acquires something and it's almost like you go, no, I want things done, and you get them done. Did you always know in the back of your mind this is going to be a slow burn, or did you think it was going to be?
Yes, and that was your question beforehand. If I would have known the difficulty I had, would I have undertaken it? Yes, I knew that I would have a difficulty.
There's also the council's got a bit of a beef regards to the land you own across from Ridges in Newcastle. It's not land banking?
This would be land banking.
This is the one across from the Newcastle Ridges.
Across from Ridges,
Yeah,
Newcastle. Is that land banking? No.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I have a DA in there for a multi-storey
Because
hotel.
one councillor accused you of that.
No, council have made life difficult there. I put in the DA there 8 years ago, and that DA was for a 180-room hotel. Then, after we eventually got the DA approved, which took 3 years, 3 years to get a DA approved, with the knowledge of the fact that there was a lot of University of Newcastle infrastructure being built within Newcastle, I had the brainwave of not making a hotel there, but putting student accommodation there. So with this brainwave, I had to redesign it and resubmit it to council because it would be a brand new DA. Council then looked at this and they said I had to make the building a floor smaller and had to withdraw it because of the shadows and stuff like that. And it would have been a smaller building with less functionality. So that took about 2 years. So then I went back to the original DA of keeping it as a hotel. So you can always use a hotel and put students in a hotel, but you can't have student accommodation and put people into student accommodation, okay? So that took up another 2 years. Then I had to go for the CC, and I'm still fighting with the CC because the CC required Section 455s to be put in because the DA was so old that some changes needed to be made with the new legislation. So that took another year or two. And now we've just amalgamating all the information for the CC, which is the structural and land mining stuff, to get the CC approved. So I haven't actually got the CC yet. And this is after 10 years. So if you get a normal investor that wants to build a hotel and buys the land and has to wait 10 years, that's not very financially sensible, is it?
Yeah.
But that's not my fault.
Is it just easier just to sell it off?
It's too valuable. You know, to have two hotels across the road from each other, it's an amazing facility. So yes, I could sell it off, and then what do I do with the money? Buy another piece of land and take another 10 years to get the approval for there?
One thing you never give up, just like you do in triathlons. A lot of people wouldn't know that you compete in triathlons.
Yeah.
Is that getting your mind away from the business, day-to-day business?
You've got to have a healthy body. It's so important to have a healthy body. Admittedly, most of the triathlons I do, the swimmers swim past me. The bicycles, they whoosh past me. You know, it always makes my day when I actually pass another bicycle. And then I suppose the jogging bit's not too bad. I sort of do keep up with people jogging. So it's certainly not to win or to better last year's results. It's just to be able to continue telling myself I can do it.
Well, I tell you what, I looked up some results and you are in the 70 to 75 category. So there you go. It's pretty easy to find out, isn't it?
You've done very good due diligence.
There you go. But what got you, I mean, was this a later in life sort of thing, or you just decided to do that?
Yeah, actually. It started in Noosa.
Some people do it when they have a midlife crisis. You're not having an end of
life
crisis.
Yeah, probably. It would have been about that time.
Around the start of the post office.
What I've also found too is when I was at school, I was so studious, so it was all academic. Well, you have all these tough boys, you know, playing sport and all that.
Yeah.
They ruin their bodies playing sport. So, you know, then they're having knee replacements and hip replacements and all that. While they were doing that, my body was kept in such good condition. So, you know, in my midlife crisis, I had a body with good condition. I thought, geez, I better use it.
Yeah.
You know, wear it out.
You also compete in trail running races as well. Was that
in the Blue Mountains?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I bought Fairmont Resort, which was when my son was born, so it was 16 years ago now, the biggest business there was when they had the UTA 50, the UTA 50.
Yep.
And that's when the hotel was all booked out for 3 days. So I thought, well, that's a great opportunity. That, you know, I buy the hotel. That's the only business the hotel has. Let's participate. Plus, they gave me a free ticket. So and that was 50 kilometres. So I built it up. You know, the first year I did a third of it, 16. Second year I did 28, and the third year I did 50.
Well, I was going to say, you've made it multiple attempts at the 50-kilometre Ultra Trail Australia.
Well, that's the same
so
thing.
That's the same thing.
It got bought out,
Right.
the original people,
Okay.
by Ultra Trails,
Wow.
which is UTA.
I mean, how's your body after that, after one of those?
How many?
How's your body after a couple of those races?
Very, very difficult walking upstairs, you know, sort of. Got it. Yeah, but it's a great feeling, actually. It's a feeling, you know, each year when I do it and the body feels so bad, it makes me feel that I've actually been exercising the body. It's like in the old days, I don't know if you're of that vintage, that when you used to travel overseas, you used to have a cholera injection, and the cholera injection made your arm really painful for about 2 or 3 days, which was a great feeling because what it meant was that you were going overseas.
Wow. You also purchased a beer festival.
Correct.
Are you a beer drinker?
When it's really hot after running my 50 kilometres, I love to drink my beer then.
What got you into? What made you buy that?
Well, I've got a brewery.
Well, obviously, yeah.
So it's sort of connected, isn't it? Having beer festivals and owning a brewery. We've been running a beer festival in Canberra for 20 years. Yeah, next year is the 20th year. So every year at my hotel in Canberra, we have had a beer festival. And here in the Hunter, for the last 10 years, we've been running a wine festival. And I've run other beer festivals in the Gold Coast, but the one in Canberra was the main one, which each year gets a little bit bigger. And I thought, first of all, if we have the infrastructure to do our beer and wine festival, let's challenge myself and get the infrastructure and do this Gabs festival.
Yeah.
In addition, I'm so frustrated here at the Hunter how a wine festival is not getting bigger. You know, decades ago they used to have wine festivals here where they had 15, 20,000 people. It was amazing, and then they stopped.
Yeah.
And when I bought the hotel, you know, I heard there was no wine festival. I thought, geez, I better be the one to start it off again. But our wine festival here last year was 3,500 people. So I'm frustrated that it's not getting bigger quick enough.
Do you feel like it's the vignerons that might be pushing back on that? I know that there's some areas up in Buckalban where the shops are, and I was always told that you couldn't just turn up and put any old shop in. You had to go through some sort of committee which had a lot of vignerons on it, and they were the gatekeeper of yes or no. Do you feel that they felt that you're a threat?
That's actually not related to it, because the wine festival, we go directly to the vineyards and they put their stalls. So we get about 30 or 40 stalls. Right. But the problem is getting people to come.
Yeah.
So we address all the locals, we address people in Newcastle, but you know, I just don't know where they all come from. You know, on the other hand, there's the Lovedale Long Lunch, which I'm sure you've heard of, which wasn't on this year because financially it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at this hotel of, we've been offered by the committee of the Lovedale Long Lunch to continue the legacy of it here. Yep. So we're looking how we can continue the legacy, probably change it to make it better.
Could we see that this year or next year?
Next year. We're still discussing that.
Yeah, yeah.
In fact, I'll give you forward information. What we're looking at is making it more upscale, less people, and probably selecting our charity, which we're talking before this discussion, that the local fire service, we really sponsor them, you know, with the wine festival. Yeah. So we're talking about, this is, you know, initial discussions of everybody has to dress in red, and instead of 17,000 people turning up, we'll only focus it to about 600 or 700, because that's all we can hold in our conference centre, for which we have council permission for. If we're going to hold it for more people in our area, where the vineyards are, you've got to get individual council DA for each session, and that's just too hard. So that's what we're looking at for the Lovedale Long Lunch. So getting back to your question of GABS, so I was hoping that we could use the concept of GABS to make the wine festival bigger. So let's see what happens with that. You know, the other thing too is the beer industry is suffering. You know, hard times, cost of living, the drink driving, excise, all this sort of thing. So it's GABS was actually dying for that reason too, because all the different beer companies were thinking twice about whether they're going to exhibit. So by taking over GABS, I'm probably less financially desirous. So I'll be nicer I am nicer to the beer companies, and it's then giving an avenue for them to be able to display their beers.
Will you be still doing it in King Edward Park in Newcastle with that festival?
Oh, that's right. We took that one over as well.
Yeah. Because
Yes.
you had Luke Tills and Namba.
Yeah, I forgot about
Teo
that.
Namba, who have both been on. Luke was only on the podcast last week. But again, is that something you want to move it to more?
We have to plan that.
Closer to Ridges. Glad I
I
reminded you of that.
We will continue in its current location because it was so successful. The Sydney one was held at the ICC, which isn't. It's a great venue, but it's not an eclectic venue. So next year we're going to hold it at the power station in Rozelle. And the same thing in Melbourne. We want to commence the Melbourne one, but probably go back to the beautiful building that it used to be in.
Well, I used to walk past that power station in Rozelle every morning when I worked for Channel 10. I used to live in Balmain and used to just walk.
It's an amazing venue.
It's a beautiful, what's the most eccentric thing you've ever done?
I could be flippant and say got married.
I've heard you jump in swimming pools at parties.
That was the most publicised eccentric thing I've done is in my tuxedo, having a photograph of me walking into my swimming pool. The most eccentric thing. It's another hard question. The first question is, when was the best period of my life? And the second one is, what's the most eccentric thing I've done? I've done quite a few. Other people may call it eccentric. I'd call it just fun.
You lived in Italy for a while too, didn't you? What was that like?
Sorry,
You lived in Italy for a while?
In
Italy?
Italy, yes. Well, you haven't asked me what's the worst thing I've done.
Okay, what's the worst thing you've done?
The worst thing was marry an Italian woman. You had your ups and your downs. It was fantastic, but it was terrible also. And because she was an Italian woman, we spent quite a bit of time during that marriage in Rome. And that was actually the time when, to get away from her for periods of 1, 2 or 3 months, I took up these RMO registrar positions in the UK, in the hospitals in the UK. So, you know, in addition to when, as a family, we lived in London, I also did these hospital electives, you know, for periods of time in the UK. So, yes, we did live in Italy, and it was actually an amazing life experience, yes.
And you love your renewables, don't you? You've got an extensive, you know, a lot of renewables, especially up here as well. That's important, and it's something that you're so passionate about too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm proud to say that I represented Australasia for Accor only 2 months ago. They had a workshop on renewables and sustainability. So, you know, I represented all of Australia for Accor for the things that we've done. I have a sustainability officer or manager, and his role has been and is sustainability. So with him, we started off by just changing all the light bulbs, you know, from the old-fashioned ones to LED ones, putting variable speed drives on all our machinery, upgrading machinery, air conditioning machinery to be more energy efficient, putting solar panels on many of my hotels,
Yep.
you know, even in the Sydney CBD. We'll put in 2 solar farms here at the Hunter Valley. Solar farm number 1, which was 5 megawatts. Solar farm number 2, with difficulty getting permission for that because you've got to conserve all the trees. We had to take out a lot of trees. That's another 6 megawatts. So and then we upgraded the 5 megawatt one to 6 megawatts. So it's 12 megawatts of power that we produce. And it gives some idea of how much that is. This hotel consumes about 1 megawatt of power per hour.
Yeah.
That makes 12 times the requirements of the hotel. But you're only making power when it's sunny and during the day. So the next project we have, which is another multi-million-dollar project, is to get batteries and put the batteries onto one of the solar farms to conserve the power so that then you can utilise it at night time or when power is really expensive. So we've done a lot of sustainability.
The government's really on the voyage to meeting net zero. Do you feel do you feel they're on the right track?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Not a pipe dream?
It's been helped a lot by the petrol crisis, you know, the war in the Middle East.
Yeah.
You know, the number of sales of EVs has astronomically increased, whilst, you know, those of petrol cars have decreased.
Yeah.
People are well aware of solar panels and the funding that existed for solar panels, so much so that when you give electricity back to the grid during the day, the rebate is minimal because there are so many solar panels around.
Yeah.
You know, and that's then what's brought on stage 2, which is then having to get batteries so that you conserve the power when it's really cheap to a time when it's much more expensive.
Yeah. Jerry, I've got a hard question for you. One of the most difficult periods of your life was 2013.
Yeah, what happened then?
Where your life became very public. You know, your mum Eva's death in 2005 was subject to a coronial
Your
inquest.
due diligence on me. Yeah.
Looking back now, how did that experience affect you personally?
First of all, I was really close to my mother. My father died in 2000. I'm not sure about all your dates and things. My father died in 2000 and my mother died in 2005. So that was when I really became involved in the hotel industry because, you know, my father wasn't there to run his hotels. So he had about 4 hotels then. And I worked very closely with my mother. And, you know, because she didn't have her husband, I was sort of the link in her life, you know, what kept her going. So we were very close. So when the allegation of my girlfriend at the time, and I guess this is what you're alluding to, was that I killed my mother, then, you know, that, to me that was ludicrous. And of course upsetting, you know, that she was a gold digger, so she, you know, and that's also too, my father's will was going through, my mother's will was going through, and because she had been a de facto partner of mine, she wanted to get her say.
It attracted significant attention. Do you feel like your story, your side of the story has never really been told?
My side of the story?
Yeah.
Of what?
Well,
Did I kill my mother? The answer is no.
No. I think it was more of a case of the death certificate that was signed at the time.
Well, that's not recommended. I mean, it's not recommended that you sign your parents' death certificate.
But as a doctor, wouldn't you sort of, at the time, did you think this is probably not the right thing to do under the circumstances? Did you ever think
Funny
that?
enough, I thought the opposite. I'm her son and I'm a doctor and I'm close to her. Why should I get somebody else to sign it? You know, it was a close thing to me. So I think the opposite, actually.
Yeah. Does it still weigh on your mind, that whole...
Not at all.
Yeah.
No. Well, it weighs on my mind that I was accused for doing such a thing, but for signing her death certificate, not really.
Yeah.
And we had a court case about it, what do you call them, a coronial.
Yeah.
And funny enough, the witness for the other side, for the Crown, he said he signed his mother's death certificate as well. So that's kind of like threw the case out of court.
Yeah. You spent a lot of money, made a lot of money, built an extraordinary business empire, and you're still pushing yourself. What do you want people to say about Jerry Schwartz?
He got his carousel in Newcastle. he finally finished the post office. You know, look at this building. It's thanks to Jerry Schwartz. I guess as far as the hotel industry goes, you know, he did his bit to put Australia on the map as being a great destination and providing experiences in the hotel industry. You know, one of many things, you know, he was a family man, you know, he tried to enjoy life. He worked until the day he died, all this sort of stuff.
Well, look, I'm just going to do a little bit of a sponsorship shout out. Big shout out to the Legends at Purnell Trophies, a proud supporter of Incredible Lives with Cainey, whether it's trophies, medals, plaques, or engraving, or something custom made. The team at Purnell Trophies can sort you out, from schools to sporting clubs to community organisations. They've been helping recognise Newcastle and the Hunters high achievers for years, 57 years in fact. This time of the year they're starting to get really busy presentations and got grand final time, so it's important to get your orders in quick before the rush. Purnell Trophies, we're at Broadmeadow Road, Broadmeadow. Get down there and tell them Cainey sent you. And on behalf of Purnell's, they've actually want to present. It's not a it's not a diamond in a box.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
A key ring.
Incredible Lives. Wow, this has become part of a real institution to be able to have one of these engraved. Thank you.
Well, we thought, you know, you don't need a trophy. Or maybe Purnell's could get a trophy for when the post office and the carousel gets, and you could just sort of.
Well, I have to get in my my uniform with the cane, my Willy Wonka uniform and the cane, yeah, and be handed the trophy. Oh, well, thank you for this.
No, not a problem. Jerry, thank you for your time. I know you're busy, and yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. You're a remarkable man, and you know what, you're getting things done, and I think that's what people really love about you, is the fact that, you know, you are a doer, and a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Big thank you to my right-hand man, Brodie Sharp, for making all things happen. See you next time on Incredible Lives with Cainey.